Greetings and good Wednesday morning, the 26th of April, still the third decade of the 21st century, 2023. Yeah, say that out loud. If you're new to my channel and you're not familiar with my content, I always open with the fact that it is whatever today's date is, followed by the third decade of the 21st century. Let that sink in for a moment. Where people thought we would be, where they thought we would have evolved as a society versus what we're currently doing and dealing with. Well, as for me, I recently had a birthday. That's right, one more trip around the sun, closer to my expiration date, closer to 50. That's hard. That's weird to deal with. Had a wedding anniversary. Second year that my wedding anniversary is old enough to be an adult, legally speaking, not pedophilically speaking, or whatever that is. What's going on? Well, let's see. Tucker Carlson is out at Fox News for various reasons. Don Lemon is out at CNN for various reasons. And one could make the argument that Tucker was very insightful on the right and Don Lemon was very insightful on the left, that they both represented in classical stereotypical form people of the right or people of the left. Apologize for the pause there. I've been recently uploading my previous YouTube content to Rumble so that I'm on both channels. The biggest reason I did this was I was going through my YouTube stuff, just kind of, taking inventory, whatever, and I noticed that one of my videos had been removed. And all it basically said was that I violated some rules. I could probably go back in there and do the research as to what rules specifically I violated, but nonetheless, I violated a rule, and so they removed my video. It was the video titled Let's Talk, episode 20. I believe it was January 21st, 2021. God, I've been doing this that long? Yeah. Well, what's so funny is my channel's wildly unpopular. I've got one video that has had more than 1,000 views. I think it's reached 2,000 views. And my wife swears up and down it's because of how I labeled the title of the video. And that because of people that are looking for various content or interested in various content, my video got into their feed where ordinarily it would not, all because of the title. And by no purposeful design did I do it that way. Did I create the title or the video in such a way that it would be that popular? Tragically and completely honest, when I put my first video out there, based on the number of people that are on YouTube and whatnot, and people I know, I thought all of my videos were going to get hundreds of views. And I was very skeptical and I was very concerned, like, oh man, I gotta, it got me to thinking, and I've said this numerous times, if I can think and feel this way, and I think I'm a good person, I think I'm a productive member of society, I go to work, I pay taxes, I vote, I'm raising children, I think I'm a good person, but I think and feel this way, and depending on the topic, I may feel more strongly than others or more passionately than others. I don't think I'm a bad person. Well, why couldn't there exist another person, all right, that's the exact opposite, but the same? Good, they think they're a good person, they're a productive member of society, they vote, they're raising, whatever the case may be. They just have different thoughts and opinions on similar subjects to include strongly or passionately. And why should we alienate them? Why do we need to draw this hard line in the sand? You're right or you're left. If you're watching this, then you're right or you're left. Why does it have to be so divisive? And quite frankly, that's where we're at. It's like the more divisive, the more heated, the more absurd, the more, what's the word I'm looking for? Hyperbolic, the more animated, whatever, all those different adjectives, right? It's like the more people want. That's what people want. And I was like, well, let's try a different route. I'll voice my opinions on a subject, But I'll recognize the fact that whatever it is I'm talking about, there could be somebody out there that disagrees and that it's very near and dear to their heart. And there are some people in my life, whether I've met them in person or I've only met them through YouTube or I know them personally, where we do disagree on certain issues. One particular person that normally watches my videos and comments has certain strong opinions specific to the LGBTQIA+ movement, specifically the trans movement. We don't see eye to eye, and normally whatever they've got going on in their life, or whatever the content is in my video, they may or may not respond, but normally they respond. Another person in my life that I know of is also very active with the LGBTQIA+ because of whatever, but this person also has some other stuff going on that I completely disagree with, and loves to be a self-made victim, a self-made martyr, likes to champion for things that she apparently feels very strongly about that I don't. I don't agree that drag queens should be anywhere near children. I think drag queens is a form of performance art, and that it is done in such a way that it is adult level content, and there's a reason why we as a society had once agreed on what children should be exposed to and what they shouldn't be exposed to. And that goes with, you know, all these different laws and bills and things going back and forth with, you know, potentially taking children away from their parents because, you know, a 7-year-old's like, I want to be a girl, I want to be a boy, I need to start taking hormones and puberty blockers and start having my genitalia chopped up at 7 years old. And they're like, there's people that are like, absolutely, this is not just a good idea, it's great, we've got to document this, this is awesome. There once was a time when, even though we may have disagreed on things like, I don't know, welfare and taxes and, I don't know, you know, big business and what, I don't know, things that are kind of substantial, things you can actually take a bite out of, we used to just naturally agree on a sense of right and wrong. But nevertheless, I try hard to make my channel as open to people as possible. And I'm going to use an example, and I'm going to do some name dropping. Take someone like Steven Crowder. Steven Crowder is at such a level now where in order to get his attention, you have to pay for his attention. And that doesn't guarantee anything. Just because you pay for his attention doesn't mean that you're going to get it. Just because you subscribe to Mug Club and you pay for that paywall and you leave comments or whatever, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get his attention. And I'm not trying to put him down for that. But as is such, as with Don Lemon and Tucker Carlson, Steven Crowder has also recently been, I guess, in certain areas, been in the news. Whether it's Dave Landau, the Daily Wire, you name it. And it makes me think of a couple of videos I made, not to plug my channel, but when I talked about Jensen Ackles and Joss Whedon, the video that got so much attention, I was saying, can there be multiple experiences? Can there be multiple points of view? And not everybody has the same experience. Can both be true? You know, recently I've heard things like, can Steven Crowder be a diva? Can he be difficult to work with? Can he be pompous, hubris? Sure. Why not? Maybe he can be. Can he also equally be responsible for putting out good content and doing the research and having a whole team of people working for him doing the research so that when he talks about something, he can reference it with factual evidence? And that's a very valuable thing we need going on right now. Absolutely. He could be horrific in the eyes of some and yet still provide valuable content. He said the exact same thing about the Daily Wire. Just because him and the Daily Wire were like this doesn't mean that the Daily Wire's not doing good things. And I hate to make it sound like I'm pulling, you know, for the right. I'm probably more right than I am left, but you hear all this vitriol, and, you know, of course, Steven Crowder being more right-leaning and openly so, he's going to post all these different things, and it's like, you get people like AOC and so many others like, yes, absolutely, deplatforming, silencing, cancel culture, it works, it's a great thing, and I'm like, no, it's really not. Because essentially what you're doing, and I don't know if it's because AOC's in her early 30s and she's still developing and she may look back on this point in her life and be like, wow, that was fucked up. Or she might double down and just continue to push forward. My point being is, it also goes back to another video I made. Actually, a couple videos I made. One video where I asked the question, do we continuously need to one-up each other? Tit for tat, quid pro quo, so on and so forth. And then I also made a video discussing, why do we need to be so divisive? Do we really want to push towards a civil war? Because when you look at like what AOC said about Tucker Carlson, and anybody else that agrees with her and may or may not be as popular as her, or may or may not have a big platform like her, stating the same things, what you're essentially doing is trying to throw gasoline on the fire of division within this nation. You're basically supporting and condoning this concept of the cancel culture mentality, that we need to silence dissenting voices. I don't know that that's true. While I agree, we probably don't need another Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, Mao Zedong, or Kim Jong-il, or his son Kim Jong-un. I think that's right. We need to have the ability for people to express themselves, even if it means they gather a following. We need to have that ability to express, because how do we know if something's good or bad? How do we know if something's dangerous or not dangerous? We need to be able to freely express, all right? And unfortunately, I've made this video as well. Theoretically, in a safe and secure voting environment, we respond with our votes on what we agree upon and what we don't. Do I believe there's election meddling? Of course. Do I believe it happened during the Trump election? Of course. Do I think it's happened previously? Of course. Do I think it's been so rampant and obvious and so blatantly aware? Probably not until that most recent election. But I think that people have always tried to, gain an advantage. I personally feel strongly about certain topics, and if need be, I'm willing to go to war for them. But at the very least, I mainly started this channel to try to open up the lines of communications. I mainly get 1 or 2 views per video, and that's fine. I may average a comment here or there, and that's fine. But instead of demonizing each other, instead of drawing lines in the sand, and I really hate repeating myself, I honestly think we need to at least listen. We don't have to agree, and there should not be this obligation to agree. I posted a thing on Facebook the other day. You have the right to believe and indulge in whatever fantasy you want to. You do not have the right to universally demand that I also accept your fantasy. I'm a big fan of being humane to one another. You do you. As long as you're not trying to adversely affect me, by all means. I think we have 2 trans people that work at my local grocery store. I don't give a shit. Because they're there to perform a function, and as far as I'm concerned, they perform a function. I don't care. They're trying to live their best life because they're free to do so, because part of what I used to do for a living was to fight for those freedoms. So by all means, you do you. But don't demand others have to agree. I try not to demand that others agree that homebrew is the only way to brew, or that, certain shows I like are the only shows, or that certain ways of thinking are the only ways of thinking, or certain ways of conduct are the only ways of conduct. I may think and feel a certain way about something, but I can't make the demand that others do. If others do, it's purely coincidental. But we need to be able to have these conversations. We shouldn't be shutting each other down. We shouldn't be silencing and canceling. We should be welcoming discourse. But, that's just my thought. Is it possible between Tucker and Don Lemon, you reap what you sow? Is it possible that they're incurring the consequences of their actions? Sure. Is it possible that they're 2 separate instances, that the reason for Tucker being let go has nothing to do with a lack of ratings, a lack of performance, a lack of likability? Could it be something else? Yes. Is it also possible that Don Lemon just was not likable, was not enjoyable, was not agreeable, was, not bringing value to CNN, and that's why he was let go? Of course. Should he be silenced? No, and I don't think he will be. I mean, he still has Twitter and social media, but here's the deal. I don't care if you like, dislike, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I'm not really in it for that. The newest thing I started saying recently, if you're new to my channel, is I'm kind of in it for the little guy. For those of us that either can't or don't want to pay to get beyond the paywall in the mere hopes that we will be heard, that we will be recognized. No, I mean, my channel's free. I'm not in it for monetization. I just want to see if we can start communicating with one another. And if you leave a comment, I promise I will read, react, and respond to it and provide feedback. And that's kind of really all I'm looking for, is to have this discourse. So please leave a comment, and if you do, I appreciate it. You're awesome. Until next time, please stay safe out there.